my first question would be, when you're trying to address all these themes in one film, how easy or how hard is it for you to make sure that, you know, us, the audience, can understand that in the easiest way possible?
I don't know. I just started out trying to figure out if I could describe Denmark and the situation with the refugees and the situation after 9/11, if I could describe that through a cookie factory. And then I also work with the thesis that, you know, that how we are so obsessed with being healthy and being slim and so on, that actually has something to do with our openness towards other people. So that was the sort of the two main thing that and then the writing just started going its own way from there.
Okay. We'll get into some of those themes, but one of the things that I noticed from the film is the beauty of reinvention, right? Because at first it doesn't seem like reinvention can be a beautiful thing, but reinventing yourself can be great. You know, change can be great. How have you found yourself in your, in your life, changing yourself, changing how you direct films, changing how you tell stories?
No, but I think this story is very much, about openness towards how life can take you somewhere else, and I think that's and for me an important message because in Denmark we have been so obsessed with saying Muslim people are like this and they can never fit into our culture and so on and so on. So that's why I try to make a story where that sort of surprises it. It also, portraying a lot of cliches. She's working as a cleaning lady and so on. So I'm sort of playing with the cliches and trying to take us somewhere else.
So as a storyteller, director, do you feel like it can be really constraining to address certain topics, especially at a time where you could tell, people are a bit more sensitive, people are not really keen on being politically incorrect, but you're not scared to be politically incorrect. Do you feel like it could really hinder maybe ideas or themes or topics that you want to talk about?
Yes, I am sort of scared at the moment, or not scared, but I mean, it is like it's very difficult to sort of describe, because it is very good that we are very aware on how we are portraying each other and that we get out of cliches and so on and so on and so on. But I also still think that art and film needs to be a room where a lot of sort of disgusting feelings can be portrayed, and it's very difficult when we are in sort of this correct wave, which has a lot of good things, but I also think it is limiting at the moment.
Right. Which also, when you talk about that, I also think about how we consume media right now, right? Especially in the era of TikTok, in the era of Instagram, short videos. Do you think that has also impacted how we consume films, like feature films, for example, how we, internalize certain kind of messages?
That I don't know if I can answer that question. Actually, I definitely think that all these kind of small, fast stories, and also like young people, they are hard to drag into the cinema at the moment because of all these small films. But apart from that, I don't know. I don't know how it will, what the effect will be.
All right, so I want to engage the crowd a little bit, because there are a couple of scenes in the movie where, like I said, I did not expect. I remember watching the part where they went playing, I'll use the word playing, but when they went hunting and they decided that their game of choice was to play with the blood of the deer. And there was a body of water there. I thought that they could probably have chosen a better game to play. But I just wanted to ask from the audience, what would you say was the most memorable or striking scene from the movie as you watched? Do we have another mic that could probably go around? Yes, please. I'd love to hear from you. Is there any scene that really left on a mark? Ty.
Congratulations, Christian. I really enjoyed the twist in the film. For me, that's just brilliant. And congratulations, that's your first feature. I can't wait to see the second one. That's amazing. And yes, the part that was very, very engaging for me was when he went to take the shahada. And when he was sitting, and you can tell that he was hesitating. I guess it's sort of like a mixed feeling, like he's about to convert to Islam, and he needs to, say those words, and he's tearing, and she's there, and it's just, it's just a very magical thing, and the way you depicted it was very dignifying of the character and of Zainab as well. And my question would be to you, how much of research did you do into the Islamic space, as well as how close is this story to you? Did it happen to anybody that you know? Because it's very, very strong the way you depicted it.
It happens every now and then that that these love stories occur, and you don't hear so much about them, and often it seems so strange that people change religion, but in a way it's not. But to get back to the first part, you can say I researched in the sense that I used the actors very much. They have sort of guided me all the way through on how we could deal with these things. And the actors, the Danish actors, were very afraid of insulting and going too far and so on. And this scene, is the main actor, Nicolas Bro, he said, no, I'm not going to say these words from the Quran, I'm not going to say them, and then because I'm afraid what will happen and so on, and then the Muslim people said, no, you should say them. Muslim people will be so proud. So at other times, like the scene you mentioned, actually it was supposed to be a scene where they would make love in the woods during the hunting, but suddenly the Bahar Pars, who plays Zainab, she said, no, a woman would never sleep with a man, a married Danish man. And then I said, are you sure of that? And then she said, of course she will, but never on film. And that was before we had a day before. So actually, it was improvised. This blood scene, and I have a taste for going into grotesque scenes when I'm under pressure.
Thank you, Ty, for the question. Do we have any other question? Yes, we have a couple of questions.
Yeah, hi. So I feel I should give some background to my upbringing before I say what I'm going to say. So my name is Gerald Gregory, and as you can see, I don't look like a Gerald. I look very Indian, actually Pakistani. So my father was an Irish Catholic. He was born in a small town called Clonmel in Tipperary, and he moved to London when he was 15. And my mother was a Pakistani Muslim who grew up in Uganda, neighboring Kenya, And when Idi Amin kicked all of the Asians out, she became a refugee. So basically, I've lived what you're talking about. My mother was a refugee in a strange country, a Christian country, married a Christian, and nominally, my father converted to Islam. And I have to say that overall, I found your movie really disturbing. And I'm sorry to kind of drop a bomb like that. Honestly, my heart hasn't pounded this hard for quite some time. But basically, having lived that, and also just to give you some background, I was brought up Muslim. Basically, my father said, look, it's all up to your mother, and kind of devolved responsibility for our religious upbringing. So I know the Shahada La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. I know Surah Al-Fatiha. I went to the mosque on a Friday during school holidays, and I spent much time with my mother's family. Most of my father's family was still in Ireland, but all of my mother's family came over, and so I spent an immense amount of time with them. And I have lived my childhood as that culture clash between Christian and Muslim, and well, I can't say that my father wasn't a refugee, because or an outsider, because he'd come from Ireland, and he came at a time when there were the troubles with the IRA, and Irish people were not received well either. So he himself was a bit of an outsider, but culturally, he wasn't. Yeah, he was sort of in the flow of that UK Christian culture. And you've basically reduced to like, oh, we've got different food and we wear different clothes, something which is far, far more profound, and caused arguments in my household, caused arguments between my extended family. The way that because my mother was more liberal. The whole reason it worked actually was because of my mother's liberalism, in kind of contrast to the more conservative nature of her own family. And so I saw that conservative Islam like up front. I saw it in a liberal form in my mother, and then I saw the Christian world through my father, and also my schooling, which was a Church of England school. And the fact is that there are deep beliefs in both cultures, and I don't mean that you have to just be a Christian, like a church-going Christian. There are Christian principles and ideals embedded in European culture that just permeate through everything and the way people behave. And I'm sorry, I've lived that some of the beliefs are diametrically opposed to each other, and they cause deep problems. So, for instance, the Easter scene that you showed, to just sort of gloss over that scene and say, oh, and, Jesus was a prophet in Islam, I'm sorry, it's so deep, because Easter is about the crucifixion of Christ, which Muslims deny outright. Yeah, that didn't happen. So, you're saying one group is saying that Christ died for the sins of humanity on the cross. That's the absolute crux of Christianity, and everything to do with European culture relating to mercy and compassion and the justice system, which is very liberal and easy. And then comparing that to like Islamic culture and their justice system, and how you can't just like gloss over so simply those immense clashes in deep beliefs. Right. Yes, it's so easy to say, I like your food. Yes, it's so easy to say, I don't mind the way you dress. But I'm sorry, you've just belittled the concerns of huge swathes of people who I think have there's a justification for them to be afraid of a situation where people hold diametrically opposing beliefs, right? Yeah. And I'm not saying that some of those fears are unfounded. A lot of those fears are unfounded, but some of them aren't. And to treat it in sort of a puerile, facile fashion, I don't think it was brave. And you said something about cliches, and frankly, I just think it was full of liberal cliches, which basically pandered to the, oh, you know, there's no problem.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's give him a chance to just address very briefly.
And one thing I'll say, yeah, as an artist, because you know I'm a screenwriter, I've had some recent success. I know how horrible it must feel to someone completely rain on your parade like I've just done. But basically, my whole life has just been almost parodied on screen, and I couldn't just sit here and let my heart beat out of my chest the way it is and not say something. I'm really sorry, okay?
It's fine. I can just say that, you know, this is not an attempt to deal with your upbringing, and I agree that you could probably, or you can definitely make a film which deals with this in another way. But I just will comment one thing, and that is for most Danish people, they can hardly explain what's going on at Easter. You know, we roll eggs. We have all kind of traditions, also religious traditions, which people hardly know what it's about, because our beliefs in Denmark when it comes to Christianity. Yeah, but here I have to say that you are not Danish, and I am, and I totally respect your history and your life, but you also have to respect when I'm saying that as a Dane, I know my own culture, and I know how.
Thank you so much. I think we could have some of those conversations after, kindly. We all do have, yes, the freedom to express ourselves. I believe him as a director, as a writer, you know, had his way of looking at things, right? And completely understand where you're coming from. But we'll just continue with the questions and then wrap up this incredible session. So let's pass the mic to Mr. Ramsey.
Hello, Christian. Yeah, thank you. This is not a question. It's more like an appraisal. I want to say that was a good work of art. And for me, I appreciate the fact that you were able, such sensitive topic, you were able to address it from virtually the genres most applicable, so that people can easily absorb and adapt to it. Now, like I mentioned earlier, it's quite sensitive. I mentioned earlier in like the panel that was on earlier, I'm talking about religion like back home in Nigeria too, on a project that we're working on at the moment. And we're having difficulty trying to make sure how can we do it without offending, you know, or be offensive about it. And you did very well. You touched it. It's like dark comedy, you know, and most importantly, very narrative, you know. And I can understand where Greg is coming from. He has his reservations, and that's understandable. And like I said, you guys can talk about that, you know, afterwards, you know. And but then from where I stand, and I'm from, you know, back home from Nigeria, we are Christian and Muslim inclined too, likewise. And we know how sensitive that can be. But well done, kudos. I appreciate the work. I watched it. For some reason, I just couldn't get up. I was seated here, and I just keep watching. It's a slow burner, but it kept me glued. And I think that's a good work of. I'm going to just like I said, it's more about appraisal. So I'm going to just praise your work as a director and as a filmmaker, that you did so well, keeping me glued here to watch that all through to the end.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
So we'll give a chance to two more so that we can wrap up.
Thank you. My name is Mary Ben, and for me also it's just to appreciate it. It's an amazing movie, and I was watching it from a different aspect, I believe, from everyone in the room. I was watching it from the mental health aspect, because I'm a mental health coach. And one of the areas we've been having an issue is also religion, because you've brought both the two religions. You've brought the Muslim and the Christianity. And Gerald, I'm very sorry for that, but you've been brought up in the Muslim background. I've been brought up in the Christian background. And I've been brought up in the Christian background. My mom is a pastor. My elder sister is also a pastor. And there are things that I don't subscribe to in terms of our own religion. And also there are things that I may not subscribe to in the Muslim religion. And it comes and affects our mental state. I suffered depression for 6 years because of also my religion and the things that I was being taught. And there's the other part of the polygamy. We've been arguing about that. Is it biblical or is it just religion? But I realize it's also biblical. And then we come later and being told that this is how we are supposed to live, this is what we are supposed to subscribe to. Now, I came to understand that culture is what we form. And there are rules that comes and govern us, and we live by it. So when we move from the rules, when we move from the culture, when we move from religion, you find yourself as an individual whereby you're able to make your own decisions. So the movie was good, and it has made me understand a lot of things, and I'm just excited to see the next films you're going to make. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So one more. Okay, two more and three. All right. Let's see how brief the questions are.
Christian, I just thought it was very well balanced between the religious issues and the cynicism of humanity, the financial overriding considerations that just took religion out of the picture whenever it was people's best interest. It was a very, I thought, clever way of pointing out the weaknesses of all aspects of humanity, and I really liked it.
Thank you so much. We had a hand there, so we could do her, and then Yvonne could wrap up the question. So Yvonne, and we also had one more question there, and we could wrap up the until, yes.
I think the only thing I wanted to just mention is that good films are conversation starters. And they really, I think what I liked about this is that it does address some of these difficult subjects. But I think the better aspect of it is that it gets people talking. And you can have these difficult conversations. You can have an extreme position like he's taking. And not extreme in the sense of, just extreme in the sense of it's a
assertive position.
It's far. Yeah, no, it's a wide. There's a wide gap in your positioning to probably what he intended is what I meant. So that's what I mean. I don't mean to be offensive at all. So don't take it that way. But can I finish what I'm saying, and then maybe we can come back to you? But I just wanted to applaud that aspect of it because I think good films actually get people having difficult conversations, and I want to applaud you for that.
Thank you. Last question. The lady here in the denim jacket had a question. And then we could wrap up.
Hi, Christian. I guess, I don't know if it was really a question. I was also like, I didn't see humor at all. And maybe that's just how I see movies. That's how I see things. But congratulations, like you made us see things differently. And I guess that's very brave of you. But I also totally understand his point of view because I've seen how things can unravel from opposing beliefs. But also, what I got from the picture also was that, yes, maybe in the Danish culture, people are not so subscribed to anything, really, and that it was more of a mental health and a financial issue that made people deal with those cultural differences. So I just want to say, yeah, congratulations, you made us think and question. Yeah.
Right, thank you so much. So we have to wrap up because of time. I can see Ty shaking his head, and he's been on my case. So we'll just have one, because he did not ask any questions. So very quickly, so we can wrap up the session. Yes, just one last question.
So as a fellow filmmaker, who works in a lot of cross-cultural subject matter. You know, it's always a question of who has license to tell certain stories, and it's you know, it's a very difficult minefield to navigate. You know, I think in Denmark, you know, a Muslim director wouldn't be able to parody Danish culture and get away with it in the same way. And I'm wondering, you know, was there soul searching that went into whether or not you felt you had license to tell a story like this and to tell it in the way that you told it? You know, I live in a cross-cultural marriage. My children are mixed race, so I'm living and breathing this every day. And it's tough. It's tough to figure out as an artist, as a filmmaker, you know, is this really my story to tell? You know, am I overstepping? I'm curious, since you haven't said much during this Q&A, what went into deciding whether or not you were the right person to make a film like this, and how far you could go?
Good question and difficult question. I have quite a lot of friends with a Muslim background. And as I said in the beginning, I used also the actors during the whole script writing. I used them, and of course my friends, and was also asking different kind of people. I've also been in this for maybe 10 years. I've been dealing with this anxiety in the Danish culture, and I've portrayed it in different kind of ways. But what you also raises as I actually believe that you are allowed. I do not believe in this that you have to have a personal story which fits completely what you're telling. I think that's a very dangerous path we are going at the moment, where everybody needs to come from your own experience like that. I think you are allowed as an artist to have your fantasies, and then of course it's always a matter if you do it good or if you do it bad, and if you can find the right format for it. I remember when I started out as making theater, I told earlier today, my first theater play was about old people at an housing for very old people, and I wrote that because everybody, I was 25 at that time, and everybody was like, oh, we want to see how young people are thinking, and now you're coming out of the theater school, you should tell us how young people are. And I think that's a sort of a stupid way to see art. I think it's very limiting that it always have to, but of course it's dangerous and you might make mistakes, and you can say then you shouldn't tell the story, but I also think art is about making mistakes, so I am afraid of a culture and a view on art where we are so afraid of making mistakes and stepping on each other's toes and so on, and I think that's where we are at the moment. I think it's very dangerous.
No, as a fellow Dane, I actually think that Christian is making a lot of fun of the Danes and our intolerance towards the Muslim community in Denmark, and I think he's on the side of the Muslim community in Denmark. But I wanted to ask you, your Muslim friends and the people that you had talked to, how did they react to the film when they finally saw the final product?
There are hardly any movies made with the Muslim as the main characters. They're starting to come, so in that way everybody has been sort of happy and glad that finally there was a film where this theme is taking place.
I'm a Muslim, practicing Muslim. Anybody who knows me here knows I'm a Muslim. I don't hide it, but I don't carry it on my head. I've done Ramadan in Denmark, in Copenhagen, throughout. This is a work of art. I'm not watching this as a Muslim. I'm watching this as an artist who just wants to enjoy and also listen. Yeah, So listen. Okay, so I've watched this film as an audience who is a fan of art, who is a fan of film, and I've enjoyed your film. However you depict Muslim, that's your work. If I'm angry with it, I should take your script and go and make another film that suits me. You've done your work, and you've done it really well, as best of your knowledge. And I think this is what we are trying to do at the NGO International Film Festival.
I think it's definitely addressing different things, but as you said, it's like there's a relationship between Nils and Else. Their whole life has been saving this factory, and they are about to do everything for saving the factory. And so the way that keeping our businesses going, for that we are almost willing to everything. That could be one. But yeah, and as I said, you're definitely right, but I don't think this film is aiming at what you're addressing. And there's a lot of films with religious and radical Muslims, and that's good. And maybe there's also space for this film as well. Yes.
So lastly, thank you so much for being here with us. But one thing that I can only think about now is how can we embrace change? Seeing all this, different, religious backgrounds, color, equality issues. How can we embrace change and want to embrace other people?
Good. That's a big question, But yeah.
You addressed it somehow in the film, right?
In certain ways, the film does, and I hope that it somehow shows how unpredictable life can be. But yeah, no, I don't know how to answer that question. Only to stay open. I think that's if I should say something about since 9/11, before 9/11, I would say that my friends and family and so on, nobody, religion was something we called ourselves that we was secularized from religion, and suddenly after 9/11 it was like, Muslim, they have a very strong belief, now we need to be Christians again. And that's where I get scared when anxiety is driven us towards certain identities. That's what I'm afraid of, and that's what I think art should try to fight.
Thank you so much. And thank you for staying through the session. We appreciate you. We continue this tomorrow, so we hope to see you tomorrow. Thank you so much, Tai, for having us. Thank you for having me. Thank you for offering a platform for storytelling for us to address some of these issues, okay? So thank you.